So it was 2016, right? When half of Hollywood died.
Oh man,
It's like the other half's dying now.
yeah.
It's turning out to be another one of those years.
It's and a lot of good stuff
Yeah.
got whacked. A lot of stuff I like anyway.
Yeah.
Got whacked.
Yeah.
But you know, three. There, if you want to do the threes.
Well,
where do you start counting?
So
in order to create the
I think
threes?
it was on our last show we recorded, and we said we sure hope John Singleton's okay. And then between the time that the show was recorded and the time it posted, he passed.
But who was right before John? Luke Perry.
Luke Perry.
So if you start with Luke, John.
Oh well, just in the past few days we had Peggy Lipton, Doris Day, and Tim Conway.
And Tim Conway, of course.
Yeah.
So if you group them by age,
all over the map. Doris was in her 90s.
I was going to say the octogenarians.
97.
I forget what they even call people in the
Tim
90s.
Conway was 85.
Yeah,
John
yeah.
Singleton was 51.
Why does 85 not seem that old to me?
You know why? I'll tell you why. Because we are routinely now, like I.M. Page just died at 102.
I.M. Page was yesterday.
Olivia de Havilland is 104 or something like that. Kirk Douglas is 102, right? So you know, we've hit that moment where people who are 100 years old, it's no longer wow.
Only a few minutes ago, we were doing this on a Friday morning.
Yeah.
I'm watching. I guess it's Al Roker that does it now. Remember the Smuckers that Willard used to do?
Yeah.
And he hit like 15 of them.
Yeah.
And they weren't just 100 anymore. These were 102s, 104s.
I know.
These were 103s.
Look, it was when you and I were kids. How many people did we know who lived to be 100 years old? Did you know any?
My great grandmother.
Your great grandmother.
My but she's the only one. But now the women in my family, on my mother's side anyway, extremely long lived.
Yeah.
But my great grandmother Ruth Douglas, I knew until I was 32 years old.
Wow.
She babysat me, and then I had the hardest time understanding what a great grandmother was.
Yeah.
You know, I just my mom like. You ask all my other friends about these great grandmothers.
I know.
And none of them have any idea what the hell I'm talking about.
I know great grandmothers and great grandfathers who are in their 70s.
Yeah, my God. Well, you know, that's another problem.
Right. But I just in the past, I'd say the past 10 years, I know 3 people who live to be over 100 years old. I delivered a eulogy at the funeral for one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, my old dentist and his wife, they both lived to be over 100. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Married for over 70 years.
Yeah, yeah. Just know you for your entire life as an adult. And, of course, a lot of it has to do with advances in healthcare.
Yeah.
The way we actually take care of ourselves, about
Yeah.
certain sectors of the population anyway, who don't eat too many Twinkies, and I suppose you know that's it, and thus we live long. Plus, fewer things just flat out kill us. That's the thing that we don't calculate.
In fact, it dawns on me, I think I know somebody else who's over 100 because I have not been invited to a funeral, so I've got to assume he's still alive. I actually went to he and his wife celebrated their 75th wedding anniversary, and I went to that celebration. And they were both mid-90s at the time. That was over 10 years ago, and she passed about 4 years after that. So he's got to be 105.
Yeah, he's still walking around. He's still walking around. But there is that.
Hippest guy I've ever known, by the way. I just want to say. I just want to say that he and his wife were traveling to Tibet and all over like Peru and the you know the old Mayan ruins. They were doing that before like people were supposed to do that, right? So that's what keeps you alive.
Yeah, they're doing it when you really had to do it.
Yeah.
You know? But this is a thing. I happened to listen to one of my science podcasts, and this was the actual subject. Why are people living to be so long? One of the reasons is fewer things just flat out kill us. So if you think about, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, even 25 years ago, there were many things that people did every day that would they just get killed doing.
Yeah.
Working on a farm in 1800 or 1900 or even 1950 was a damn dangerous thing to do, and you just get killed farming.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to kill yourself farming nowadays.
True.
You got to almost be trying.
Yeah.
Window washers and all. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff where you're just not going to probably not going to die doing this thing anymore. And then there are a whole bunch of things that humans just don't do anymore.
True.
A whole bunch of actually dangerous things that, the robot does that.
So quick favorite. Let's just pay tribute to some of these people. Favorite John Singleton film.
Oh, well, obvious to say Boys in the Hood, so I
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with John's third film, Poetic Justice. No,
Okay.
not Poetic Justice, A Higher Learning.
Yeah.
Love Poetic Justice too, but that's mostly about Tupac and
Yeah.
that sort of amazing performance he gave. But there was something about A Higher Learning, which was not that well a received movie at the time.
Yeah.
When you look at that movie now, ooh,
Yeah.
prescient.
Yeah.
Absolutely prescient. Another John film that I enjoyed, it's a little cheesy, and I get
Yeah.
it, but Rosewood.
See, that was going to be my pick.
Ving Rhames.
You know what? I kind of denigrated it at the time.
Me too.
And that's one of those. I know Ray wants us to do a festival of films where we've changed our minds. That's one I've revisited. And I think what I did at the time is something that I don't do now, which is I was looking at the guy who made Boys in the Hood and then the guy who made Rosewood, and I said, "Well, that's not. What are you doing? You're stepping outside the lines." I admire that now. It's like, yeah, you made Boys in the Hood, so why not go and make a classic period film in the classic Hollywood style? And tell a period story. Why not do that? Why not flex those muscles?
And in that one, he managed to meld two things. Obviously, John started out telling stories about his community.
Yeah,
Boys in the Hood is a story about his community, his people, people like him, and what it means.
And so it's Poetic Justice.
Poetic Justice to a certain extent too. Higher Learning, even his community moved to college and what it feels like and looks like being from his community and the college, which is something that happened with Rosewood. Though he decided to simply tell a grand story in the context of the Black experience, but it's just a Western.
Yeah,
that's John Ford.
Yeah,
that's what John Ford. That's what he's doing after that. So
John
he's
Ford film with Ving Rhames.
With Ving Rhames, I think the name of the character is the Man.
It was. It was great. It was great.
So yeah,
and I've seen Ving Rhames, by the way, around town in stores and stuff. It's a very big man.
Even bigger,
not like tall big, like if I were running at full speed and put my head down right into his chest, I would hurt my head.
You'd bounce off.
I'd bounce off. Peggy Lipton.
Oh well, I first of all, I'm old enough. Both
Mod Squad
go all the way back to the Mod Squad. So
I'm going to go with Twin Peaks.
But Twin Peaks was really just an extraordinary. Peggy was married to Quincy Jones for a long time, and I used to.
She's Rashida Jones' mom.
Rashida Jones's mom.
Yeah.
So I would run into her all the time when cool jazz festivals and stuff like that. But Peggy, when I was a kid growing up watching, Total Crush.
Yeah.
Total Crush. But Twin Peaks, absolutely good. Yeah. Just amazing work.
Tim Conway.
Oh, Tim Conway on the Carol Burnett show, just standing there. That's all he ever had to do for me. But on the Carol Burnett show, now, the Apple Dumpling Gang. Yes. And because people forget, Tim made a bunch of those movies.
Somebody pointed out the other day, they made the comment, and I have to agree, Tim Conway may be the greatest ever self-deprecating comic.
Mm-hmm.
All of his humor was always at his own expense.
Loved it.
Every last bit of it. He was always the fool, the dimwit, that's what it was. That's what he got. And I just watched again, and I think it may be one of the single funniest pieces of performance in the history of movies or television is Tim Conway and Harvey Korman doing Sunday Dentist.
Oh, my God.
because Harvey... At a certain point, remember Harvey's always cracking up on that show.
Always Tim laughing. Was dedicated to making Harvey crack up.
But there's a moment in that when Tim is injecting his hand and then his hip, and he's putting the Novocaine in himself, and he's losing the whole thing. And and Harvey is losing it on a level so extreme, even Tim loses it. Tim even loses it because Harvey is so losing it. And it makes the whole thing even funnier.
It's amazing to me, and if you didn't grow up on the Carol Burnett show, because we have both. We were Carol Burnett people and early Saturday Night Live people right up to the present day.
Yep.
So we have this sort of overlap there, the classic variety shows, and then when they sort of morphed into the more modern sort of comedy shows, somehow. The Carol Burnett sketches, some of which would go on quite a long
time.
They never started to hurt.
No.
In the way that some SNL sketches.
Well, you know what Eric Idle says about Saturday Night Live? He says, you know what the difference is between a Saturday Night Live sketch and life. Life eventually ends.
Thank you, Eric, for be so sharp about that. Tim Conway, let me just give a shout out to McHale's Navy because
so great.
Yeah, because he was wonderful on that show.
Lastly, Doris Day, favorite Doris Day movie.
Oh well, Pillow Talk for sure. But I got to tell you, her sequence, her big sequence, with Jimmy Stewart
in Man Who Knew Too Much.
Who Knew Too Much?
Yeah,
because she has to sing and all of that. That's an amazing performance.
It sure is.
It's in her eyes. It's all in her eyes. And what about you?
I am going to say The Thrill of It All.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. Because The Thrill of It All is the Doris Day movie that everyone always forgets about. Because it's a Doris Day Rock Hudson movie, except with James Garner playing Rock Hudson.
Right.
Yeah. And what I love about The Thrill of It All is it encapsulates in this idea of a 50s housewife who makes good. It encapsulates the era and everything people loved about Doris Day. Yes, she was the girl next door. She was your mom. She was that lady across the street. She was what's her face with the cookies on My Favorite Martian.
Oh yeah.
You know, she's that every woman, but at the same time she made good. She's a professional woman. She's kind of the safe liberated woman before there was women's lib and feminism.
It was Baby Boom about 20 years before Baby Boom.
It was.
And I'll tell you what else was too. People forget this about Doris Day. The Doris Day television show. She was a single woman who was self-actualized, raising her kids and taking care of her business.
Yeah,
this is in the early 70s that show was on.
That's right.
That was a really good show. I watched that show too.
Good show.
It's not remembered in the way that like the Mary Tyler Moore show or some of the other ones.
It will be now.
It will be now. It will be now.
Well, tough week. Well, we were off for a week there, so we're going to dive right back into it. I got a bunch of foreign stuff here that has accumulated, and we've got some giveaways thanks to Wellgo. Well, we got 3 giveaways because of Wellgo, so thank you, Wellgo. And we're going to start with one of them, and the movie is Big Brother with Donnie Yen, whom I am proud to have interviewed several times. I actually also wrote the first ever major interview and interview art piece with Donnie Yen in a major American publication. That was for the LA Times at the time that he was just starting to break through.
Yep.
And the movie is Big Brother. Donnie Yen does not age. Let me just say this. Donnie, and the movie I interviewed him for was Iron Monkey. Iron Monkey was getting an American release many years after it was released in Hong Kong, and Miramax was doing it, and Donnie was here doing press.
Most people think about Donnie, they think about the
Ip Man films, but he was in Iron Monkey. He didn't play Iron Monkey. He played the guy that Iron Monkey, a dad that Iron Monkey fights. But he was on his way up at the time. He had an amazing fight scene as the bad guy against Jet Li in Once Upon a Time in China 2. And he kind of played the bad guy in a lot of these things. He got a few lead roles, but then suddenly Jackie and Jet get too old to do anything. Jet Li looks like he's 70 years old now. Yeah. It's crazy. Donnie, who is basically the same age as Jet Li, is like has not aged. He's in his prime, and he's like a starring man on a level that they can't be anymore. It's really amazing.
Well, he does not look crazy doing anything. No. I saw Mark DeCostas in something the other day.
Oh yeah. It was
what was it?
John Wick 3.
It's Wick 3. Oh, that's what he's in. Wick 3. Yeah,
he's in Wick 3,
and he's moving around pretty good.
He's doing pretty well, and he's funny too.
Which is great. But these guys,
Well, Big Brother is basically stand and deliver with martial arts.
Yeah,
that's what it is. He's an inspiring teacher, and he goes into this really, really tough delinquent class, and he's a guy with some history, and he basically it's stand and deliver with martial arts. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
But it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. It is a Cantonese film once again. If you are a fan of Hong Kong films, you will know that almost everybody migrated over to China, and they're all Mandarin language films now. So there is something cool about watching an actual Hong Kong movie in Cantonese again. They still make them; they just don't come over here. So this was really fun seeing Donnie speak Cantonese, and it's a great film. It's called Big Brother. We're giving away 4 of them. Send us an email to gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com and put brother in the subject line. Put your name and your address in the body of the email, and make sure that it gets to us no later than Sunday the 26th, Sunday, May 26th, and we will choose winners on the 27th, and 4 people will get Big Brother. So just send us brother in the subject line, name and address in the body of the email. We also have from Wellgo, let me pull the next batch out here. Another Shot. Now, Another Shot is not a foreign film, but I'm going to include it here because it's well go. This is a basketball movie starring Stephon Marbury, Allen Iverson, and Baron Davis in special appearances. But basically, it's a Stephon Marbury movie, and I never thought I'd say that.
Yeah. Well, when did they start doing that? If you go back long enough, let's see, Dr. J and all those guys were in a what was that movie that they were in? Where in the middle '70s?
Yeah.
So I'll think of a second. There's The Fish That Ate.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And you work your way up, and you had I think Michael Jordan did one.
Yeah.
Where he was like with cartoons.
Yeah, that's the yeah.
And then
right.
then
with
Shaq
with Bugs Bunny,
and then
Space Jam.
That was Space Jam. Shaq did one, but I don't think Shaq was a.
Well, here's the deal here. China is trying to lure everybody over there to do stuff. This is what Wellgo does Asian-themed stuff. So there is an Asian theme to this. The film's in English, but it's basically it's about a bunch of guys who go to China, Americans who go to China to play professional basketball and are looking to become basketball champions in China. That's it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a way of celebrating China's basketball league with American talent, which... Okay, fair enough.
Promotes the American.
I'm okay with that. I mean, there's a little bit of a propaganda angle, but you know what? Here's the big surprise here: is Stephon Marbury's not a bad actor.
But you know what? Not surprised.
Probably not a surprise. Yeah. I mean, I was shocked that LeBron is as good as he is.
Yeah, because he was so good in that comedy.
Amy Schumer film.
Gosh,
he's fantastic. Yeah. So anyway, it's the movie's called Another Shot, and it's got some good basketball stuff on it. It is essentially based. I should point this out. It is essentially based on Stephon Marbury's own experience in China.
Oh,
it is based on it's sort of I don't know how true it is. I don't know how embellished.
I did not know he spent time in foreign
leagues.
Foreign
so
leagues.
He's basically playing himself.
Oh.
So if you want to see some good basketball stuff, and if you don't mind the fact that it sort of celebrates the Chinese league, go ahead. We're giving away 4 copies of Another Shot on DVD, not Blu-ray. Big Brother is on Blu-ray. This is DVD, Another Shot. Send us the email to gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com. In the subject line, just put SHOT, SHOT, and we will choose the 4 lucky winners no later than the 27th. So make sure it's time and date stamped to us by an email by the 26th. And we have got one more from Wellgo, and this one is far and away my favorite. We are also giving away 4 copies of Triple Threat. Triple Threat is kind of a... they're trying to call this, like the plug on here calls it the Expendables of the martial arts world. I would not say that. No, I wouldn't really, because you'd have to have Jackie Chan and Jet Li. You'd have to have most of the Expendables in it to do that. Half the Expendables are martial arts people anyway. No, I would almost say this goes more along the lines of Three Dragons, the old Jackie Chan thing that he did with Sammo and their buddy Yun Bu. This brings a lot of talent together, a lot of contemporary talent, a lot of major people, but it's still basically a Tony Jaa movie. You're still watching this because Tony Jaa just still kicks butt, and he's in his prime.
Yeah,
there's no reason that he's an expendable, and he's past his prime. But here's who else is in this thing: Iko Uwais, Tiger Chen, Selena Jade, Scott Adkins. Michael Bisping. Scott Adkins, I know. Scott Adkins. Got to have an American in there. Got another American in there, too. Michael Jai White.
I love that there's always some place for these guys to go to work.
And Gigi Yanin. So, look, don't worry about the plot. It's about a bunch of mercenaries. Tony Jaa is sort of taking the lead here. And you got mercenaries who are having to go up against these professional assassins, and there's no plot. Everybody just kicks butt for a good solid 2 hours, and it's very impressive. So anyway, it's a fun film. 4 copies given away. Just send us an email to gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com with the word threat in the subject line, body and address, name and address in the body of the email. And get that to us by the 26th, and we'll choose a winner on the 27th. So those are our 3 giveaways. All of them cool. Welgo is really kicking it. So here's the rest of our foreign language films.
Yes.
On Blu-ray is The Great Buddha Plus. This was Taiwan's foreign language entry. It did not get nominated, but it's a really, really interesting film from writer-director Xin Yao Huang, and it's shot beautifully in black and white. I mean, it's a really, really fantastic black and white thing. What it tells an interesting Taiwanese story in a very, very elegant way. That's it's sort of a brutal story, and it I don't want to give too much away here because it's very easy to give away the whole thing. Let's say that there's a crime that could have been captured on dash cam and private camera, and there's a night security guard who is central to whether or not this crime will be solved. That's kind of all that I can really reveal. But where it goes and this really naturalistic acting and how the actual Buddha figures into this, this giant Buddha itself, because there's a factory that manufactures Buddhas, and there's a whole angle to this where the night guard works. Anyway, it's a really, really stylish film. It was a whole ton of festivals, and did not get an Oscar nomination for Taiwan, but it's still really worth checking out. It's a really, really interesting movie. Iceman is a really kind of a curious hybrid. This is a German, Italian, Austrian co-production, and it's relatively short. It's only about 90 some odd minutes long, but it takes place. It's almost like I don't want to say Quest for Fire. It's not even Clan of the Cave Bear, but it's kind of a caveman movie. It takes place thousands and thousands of years ago with this Neolithic clan, and it's about sort of an ancient religious. How would I put it? It's like there's an ancient shrine, and these are feuding tribes, and it winds up kind of becoming like a Neolithic death wish in a way, but it's not really a revenge film. I hate to call it a revenge film, but it is very much well, I guess Quest for Fire might even be the best analogy. Anyway, it's on DVD, not on Blu-ray. It's directed by Felix Randau, and it's a really interesting kind of revenge, survival, spiritual quest movie in a very prehistoric period. Beautifully shot, very interesting.
Is there language in it?
Oh yeah, there's language. Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's language.
Because you don't like Clan of the Cave Bear or something like that.
Yeah, no. It's the language is Rayatan or Raitian, which I don't really know what that is, but that's like the language.
Perhaps an Inuit kind of thing.
Some kind of a thing. Yeah, but it's a very interesting film. The wonderful Shunji Iwai film from Film Movement Classics, all about Lily Shushu. This is one of the best coming of age films of the last, gee whiz, like 20 years. Part of a kind of nascent new Japanese cinema that emerged right around the year 2000 that was sort of addressing all kinds of really interesting new social issues in Japan, and the certain generation of young Japanese who have no connection really even through parents or grandparents to anything related to World War II. So you really do have a completely new independent Japanese social sensibility. And this is a really, really great one. This is about an 8th grader who is obsessed with this singer named Lily Shushu, whose music is sort of his only way out of his miserable existence. And it is just a beautifully shot, beautifully written movie from 2001. Really, really top notch. 2.5 hours long, but it doesn't feel like it. It's just a beautiful movie. Shunji Iwai directed this, and it's from Film Movement Classics on Blu-ray. Fantastic. We also have The Shape of Now by Manuel Correa. This is a documentary, but it's a foreign documentary, and I want to put it in here. It's a co-production. It's very unusual. It's a co-production between Colombia and Norway, but it's in Spanish. And this would be a good documentary for the people in Venezuela to look at, because it would sort of give them a lot of signs as to what the future might hold. This is how you sort of how you bring a society together after years and years and years of war and civil conflict and civil war in many cases. And we forget that Colombia went through hell for a long time
Oh yeah,
with the FARC
the FARC,
rebels and all that stuff. So
kidnapping. So that 30 years.
30
that
years.
conflict,
And so this is looking at the people who survived that, who endured that, and it's quite moving and it's quite powerful. And this is from Indie Pix Unlimited, and you can also see it on Prime, on one of the Prime channels on Amazon. Also from Film Movement on DVD, not on Blu-ray, which was debuted at the International Rotterdam Film Festival, is Olga Chaidas's film Nina. I hope I'm not mutilating her name. Olga Chaidas. This is in Polish, and that may be the most pronounceable Polish name I've ever seen. I am bad with Polish names. And poor Rich Nicheski. I used to mutilate his name all the time. I really did.
A colleague from back.
A colleague of ours from way back. But anyway, this is a little bit like, what's the Chilean movie that then just became the Julianne Moore movie?
Oh yeah, the one. About the woman.
About the woman.
Who's the older lady and her relationship with the older man. That thing.
Yeah, that thing. So this is a little bit like that. Nina is a woman who is having a bit of a midlife crisis. She can't become a mom. She can't conceive, and winds up falling into a very interesting relationship that winds up creating more questions than answers. Really, it's not a love story so much as it is just a look at one woman's personal life crisis, and it's pretty solid. Haven't seen a lot of good Polish films in a while, so this is nice. Also comes with a really cool short film called Social Butterfly, which is an English and French language French film, about 14 minutes long. Let's see. Get down to the last few here.
Gloria Bell.
Gloria. The movie is Gloria.
Gloria. Sebastian Lilo directed both, right? That one and the other. Yeah.
Sure did. Yep. After he won his Oscar for a special woman, unknown woman, something woman, whatever. There's a real woman, whatever that was called. So from Facets, we have a really, really great one here. This is the short films of Raimundo Gleiser, Gleyzer. Facets always finds the great little nuggets out on the fringes of the film world. And Gleiser was an Argentine filmmaker, and these are documentary shorts that he made largely in the 1970s, early part of the 1970s, one of them in the late part of the 1970s. The shorts are Swift, Don't Forget, Don't Forgive. The AAA are the Armed Forces, and the last one, long title here, They Kill Me If I Don't Work, and I Work If They Kill Me. Gleiser was a really, really significant filmmaker, not terribly well known outside of Argentina, except among a certain group of very, very dedicated documentarians. They are wonderful short films, and they are intense and really packed, and they give you a wonderful look at Argentine history and culture, and really speak very much to what's happening in Latin America in the 1970s, which was a pretty tense time.
Yeah.
Benoit Jacot, we love. Tim and I have done audio commentary for some Benoit Jacot movies.
Yeah.
And this is a Benoit Jacot film from Film Movement on DVD only. I wish it were on Blu-ray. This was at a recent Toronto Film Festival. Never Ever, with Mathieu Amalric and Julia Roy. This did not, I don't think, get a wide theatrical release here.
No.
And I'm not quite sure why. This is his latest film. It's a wonderful film. Mathieu Amalric kind of sort of plays himself in it, meaning Benoit Jacot. He plays a filmmaker who winds up just by accident meeting this woman and kind of becoming obsessed with her in a little bit of a Vertigo-like way. And it is essentially about that relationship and how it evolves, and then the weird twists and turns that happen afterwards. But it has some very dark edges to it, and it goes in some places that you don't expect it to. And I found that to be really, really intriguing. And Benoit Jacot is a great filmmaker. Regardless, everything he does is worth checking out. Really thoughtful.
Single Girl. I love A Single Girl.
So good, right?
It was just
so great. And then the last one here is Naples in Veils, starring Alessandro Borghi and Giovanna Mezzogiorno. The director is Ferzan Ozpetek. Yes, you're right. That's a Turkish name, but it's an Italian film. And Ozpetek is a filmmaker I'm not terribly familiar with, But I'd like to see more of his stuff. There's some very interesting stuff here. Not a lot by way of special features, deleted scenes, and behind-the-scenes stuff. So if you want to know more about this movie, you've got to kind of do a little bit more research, unfortunately. But it would be great to have this on Blu-ray. This is another kind of similar to the film we just that I just mentioned. A little bit similar to the Benoit Jacot film, Never Ever. This is about a very unusual and unexpected relationship. Two people who meet, young woman and a young man, and then it just kind of falls apart. It just doesn't go anywhere. You know, this thing starts to happen, and then it doesn't. And then there's a twist, and I can't tell you what the twist is, but then it takes a completely wild left turn, and it takes a turn like the Benoit Jacot film takes its big turn later. This one takes its turn sooner. And it winds up also being very existential and asking some really tough questions that you really don't expect it to ask. So, sharp film, about 112 minutes long, and that is Naples in Veils by Ferzan Ozpetek. Really, really cool. And that's from Breaking Glass.
Outstanding.
All right.
We're going to do some TV?
Yes, do TV.
Okay, got a little new TV, a little old TV, and one doc over here. Second season of 13 Reasons Why. A fairly controversial little series when it came out about a young woman who had already committed suicide when the series begins. She leaves a set of cassette tapes on the porch of a friend, a high school friend, who had a crush on her. She had a crush on him. And over the course of the entire series, certainly the first and second season, he's listening to these tapes as she tells him 13 reasons why she did what she did. The controversy was about the possible enfranchisement of notions of the idea that there are reasons
to commit
suicide.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of kickback about that. That notwithstanding, this is a well-told, a well-shot, well-produced television series. It's really just a mystery. That's really what it is.
I think there was also a stat recently released where they said that since this went on the air, the incidence of teen suicides has increased, as though there's a correlation between the two.
Yeah,
like somehow a lot of teenagers are hanging around, having a happy life and going, "Yeah, life's awesome." And they watch they watch this movie, this TV show, and then go, "Oh," and they're going off themselves.
Oh, reason 8. That's mine.
No, no. I think there's something else going on. I think that was a dumb study, but it's a smart show.
Well, it's like back, I guess it was the 80s when all those Ozzy Osbourne records and whatever, they were playing them backwards. They went to court. That was a court case. Ozzy made my kid kill himself because my kid played his record backwards on him. Anyway, 13 Reasons Why. It's a very good television series, that's for sure. Power, which was a series that I came to a little bit late. Omari Hardwick's series, 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson in the series. A good show. About a sort of classic story of a young black man in this case, a drug guy.
50 Cent produces this.
Produced this
show.
Parlayed that fortune into a sort of a nightclub sort of fortune in New York City, but he's living this double life now.
Yeah.
So he's known around town as sort of like P. Diddy sort of figure, but in the the matter is he's still running that drug kingpin.
Yeah.
The trouble comes when he decides he doesn't want to be the drug guy anymore, and there are all kinds of people who need him to keep being the drug guy.
Yeah.
So you end up with one of those shows. Anyway, there are really a lot of really strong performances. Just a good, strong, hell of a drama. Were you The Shield guy?
I was never heavily into The Shield. I appreciated it. It wore a little thin on me after about a season. I kind of got the vibe,
Yeah.
It sort of did the same thing over and over. But I give it credit for doing this.
I only went through it for about a half a season myself.
Oh.
Goddaughter calling. She'll be fine.
Oh, yeah. The Shield. The Shield is the film or the series that sort of it changed what was and wasn't acceptable on TV. It pushed the envelope for cable.
And frankly, it pushed it right over the edge for me. This is a weird thing. You, again, being of a certain generation, it's not like we didn't grow up watching movies and television about cops that could be rough and tough. Except, generally speaking, the cops that you and I grew up watching on television were heroic cops.
Yeah. If
you start with cats like the cats on 1 Adam 12, actual uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Good guys.
Sure.
These were good guys, solving crimes, doing what they needed to do, but you never saw them break. Joe Friday and Homie.
Oh, yeah.
Detectives. I don't even think I ever saw those guys hold a gun.
Joe wasn't just a good guy. Joe ended most of those shows by giving you a lecture on what was and was not moral and how you should live your life and go out there and do the right thing.
Exactly.
And they were long.
And
that was like 5 minute. These were like commencement addresses that he was giving at the end of those shows.
As you creep into the, I don't know, I guess 80s or so.
It's in the 80s.
You start getting it's a little bit dubious. There's some good, but you get to the Shield, the whole damn team, and everybody on the box here is like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 8 guys on his team.
They're all dirty.
All dirty. And every one of them ostensibly the hero of the show.
Yeah.
So how we managed to do that, I do not know. But people love The Shield and The Wire, both of which are essentially shows about dirty cops.
Yeah.
And the criminals that they deal with.
Yeah.
Because they're there too.
Yeah.
But somehow we decided that the dirty cop, the dirtier the cop, the bigger the hero he is. And that's what this show was about. And I always thought it was a little will. What I have in my hand here is the complete series. 70 hours worth of in-depth stuff, 70 hours worth of just bonus features on this. So, so if you are a big fan of I just don't created by Sean Ryan, of course, I just don't see how you cannot have this series. You gotta
have there it is.
Pretty crazy. This was a neat little a DVD, a documentary, really, seasons 1 and 2 of this Netflix series called "The Toys That Made Us." I love this so much because, again, I'm a pop culture
look at that.
kid like you. So basically, season 1, this one, they talk about the merchandising that came out of the Star Wars series and what that meant to the rest of the franchise in terms of movies. It was the first time the merchandising started to eclipse the film in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
They realized
that changed everything.
That changed everything. You can keep making the toys well after the movie is out of theaters. Back then, movies were just in theaters. And after they left theaters, they didn't make any money until they went on television.
Yeah.
And then eventually VHS came along. Barbie, He-Man, and G.I. Joe. That's all season 1, disc 1. Season 2, same thing with Star Trek.
Yeah.
So they go through the entire Star Trek stuff. Transformers, and then the Japanese stuff comes in, Lego, and then Hello Kitty, and just how all of that stuff just blows everything away. Really, really interesting stuff.
I got a couple here, old TV series. From Mill Creek, we've got the original complete, The Adventures of Robin Hood, complete series, 143 episodes. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's the one from the 60s.
Yeah, I had this is starring Richard Green. I had no idea there were 143 episodes of this thing. I saw a few reruns when I was a kid.
Yeah, you would see a few of them, but it was like the same 7.
Yeah, it was exactly. It's crazy. Richard Green plays Robin Hood, and you got everybody else. Friar Tuck. I mean, there are no sort of legendary actors in here. Ian Hatteras, Sir Richard of Leah, is maybe the most distinguished of any of them. But this was a good, solid show from that period that also gave us Daniel Boone and a lot of these other things. They're all kind of in the same thing. But anyway, wow, it's crazy. 143 episodes, and they're half-hour episodes. Should point that out. So it's about 60 some hours of stuff, 65 maybe hours. Anyway, The Adventures of Robin Hood, the complete series. It's perfectly fine, and it's totally entertaining, and it's a nice little flashback to a bygone era. So you can get that from Mill Creek.
I thoroughly enjoyed that stuff. I just absolutely did.
I did too. I enjoy that era. The Donna Reed Show, as long as we're talking about Doris Day.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of the originals of those things. This was right from that moment when there was an idyllic, all-American, white, middle-class, suburban family. They all look the same. Ozzie and
Harriet would have
Leave
been
It to Beaver. They all look the same. And the thing that always fascinates me is that by 10 years later, they're all divorced and single. Family Affair, Courtship of Eddie's Father, The Brady Bunch.
With Doris Day, actually.
Doris Day.
She was a widower.
Goes to Mrs. Muir. Like suddenly all the parents are single. Just 10 years later. 10 years later, they're all single. So there's something about American society that you can read into that.
I peg it to something around the time that Portnoy's Complaint came out.
Yeah.
There was a whole sequence in that, and that was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And there was a whole sequence in that, and then of course there was that Betty Friedan book, the mystic woman or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That was another thing that happened in the culture at that moment too.
Well, anyway, this is the complete set from MPI. It is 5 volumes. My goodness, it's just seasons 1 through 5, and it's tons of extras on here. And you know what? Look, in all fairness, we're kind of making fun of it a little bit, but Donna Reed was a wonderful television personality.
She was
luminous.
the television Doris Day.
She was. That was it.
She was
Before Doris Day was the television Doris Day.
Yeah.
When Doris Day was the movie
Doris
Day.
She was being the television Doris Day.
That's it. So 186 episodes in 5 seasons and tons of amazing guest stars on here. If you're not into Donna Reed, you're going to be into the guest stars: Cloris Leachman, Harvey Korman, Esther Williams, John Aston. I mean, on and on and on it goes. Buster Keaton and Bob Crane even show up on this thing. It's a real piece of Americana, and it's a great thing to have on the shelf.
Yeah, fantastic. The Bonanza, 1959 to 1973.
Yeah.
That is just crazy. We have volume 1s and volume 2 here. This is look, that top line cast of Bonanza was fantastic. Of course, you have your the Lauren Green, Pernell Roberts, Dan Blocker, Michael Landon,
Pernell Roberts used to be a neighbor.
Really?
Yeah, Pernell, mean man.
Really?
Yeah, well, because that was the thing, is why does he disappear for half the seasons of Bonanza? Because he was having a contract dispute and everybody hated him.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
It's like, where did he go? Oh, he's off doing blah blah blah, and and everybody else is a team player, and Pernell Roberts is kind of a a jerk.
That's
always
funny.
was. He was known for that, and I always remember whenever I'd see him drive by, he like, if you're just standing on the side of the road and he's like driving by, he'd give you the stink eye. Why? Because you're in his world. That's why.
You're invading Pernell Roberts.
Yeah.
And the thing of it,
And I loved him on Trapper John too.
And the thing of it, I really never got him for as Trapper John, who of course had been a character on MASH. The before BJ
Right.
Honeycutt and all those, and had been played by Wayne Rogers. And I'm like, why not Wayne Rogers?
True.
What the hell is going on here? And not for nothing, Pernell Roberts, who was like a dark-haired bald dude.
Yeah.
And Wayne was like a curly-haired blonde dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not even trying. So
at least
the show was good.
See, at least with Lou Grant, right? They're like, Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it's a total turn. Yes, we're going from a sitcom to a drama, but
and from the television to a newspaper.
Yeah, but still Lou Grant.
Yeah, and eventually gets sick of it and goes back to television anyway. So anyway, this is the 60th anniversary of Bonanza. If you grew up watching this, you want to talk about people in the show, Tim Matheson. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's right.
The people who were children in this show who grew up, had whole careers, and have aged out and died. So that's how before you go back with Bonanza.
We're gonna hit some new stuff now, and I'm gonna get this right out of the way at the top. This is a new movie that really doesn't warrant much discussion at all, but I'm gonna mention it because I just want to get it out of the way. This is American Exit. When your time is up, there's no running away. That's a tagline you're not even trying with.
Yeah.
When your time is up, there's no running away. Like what? How many people sat around a table for 4 seconds to think that one up? Come on. You're not even trying.
No, they didn't even sit.
So this is allegedly a true crime story about a guy who steals a painting and winds up taking his son on the lam, and they're running out in the desert and the whole thing, whatever. So fair enough. But the thing that's weird about this is that it stars Dane Cook. Dane Cook has turned a corner, and he's now trying to pretend that he's like the heavy
action guy. Not action hero, but action good guy.
Action villain.
Oh, action villain, really, Dane.
Villain, right? So that's the thing that's a little bit weird. Dane Cook was supposed to be the next big rom-com guy from Moment.
Mm-hmm.
He had that moment. He was going to be like he was going to step when Matthew McConaughey was stepping up to do more serious stuff and getting out of all of those dumb movies like License to Fly or whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah.
And Dane Cook was going to be the next guy. And we know how they all those posters. It's always a girl giving a guy some kind of a look, and the guy is like shrugging or looking silly. And well, anyway, Dane Cook didn't turn out to be that guy. So now he buffed up and picked up a gun, and now he's trying to look mean. Look at that picture on the back of the box. How mean he looks.
He does in fact look mean. He may have picked the wrong. He may have made the wrong choice the first time out. Of course, he's a comedian. Dane.
He's a comedian. He still does comedy. And I enjoyed seeing Udo Kier in here as the guy who owns the painting.
Did you make a movie with Udo?
We did. Yes. Yes, we did.
Lacey Street.
That's the one.
Down in, because I remember that. Yeah.
Last Call.
Yes,
which is now known as Stingers. I did.
What the hell did they bother to chase the name for?
I don't know. That's a long story.
Oh, yeah.
But I wrangled extras. You worked on it as well, and I remember Udo, who's hysterical. Seymour Cassell was on that too.
Seymour, hell
Seymour
yeah.
was just so funny.
Seymour split a couple of weeks ago
He
too.
did.
Right?
I know.
He might have started that run.
He did. Seymour's passing started that.
Yeah.
Seymour was so funny on that. But Udo Kier, because I interviewed everybody for the EPK.
For the EPK, yeah.
And Seymour was fine. He was perfectly normal. He's a clown on set, but you sit him down, you interview him, he's fine. Udo, that was a trip. Udo sat down and and this is my only Udo Kier story. Every time you do an EPK interview, you ask the person to say their name and to spell it so that anyone who is then transcribing this or using it in any other form has the raw video and they don't make a mistake. Okay? That's standard. And everyone does it except Udo Kier. I say, so for the record, could you please say your name and spell it? And he's sitting there. And by the way, it's just for the effect, he had somebody grab this stray cat and put it in his lap so that he would look all James Bond stroking a cat and wound up leaving more fur than you could possibly imagine. He was very upset. So Udo looks at me and he goes, I don't need to spell my name. I'm Udo Kier. Everyone knows who Udo Kier is.
Why do you gotta be an ass?
So, okay, thanks, Udo.
The only thing I remember about that day is smoking a lot of weed with some Jamaican sound guys out in the parking lot.
I remember that guy.
Like that, yeah.
I remember the guy. So yeah, let's see. And then I'll throw this in there too. Backdraft 2. I know, right about now, everybody at home is going,
There's a Backdraft too.
With Donald Sutherland and William Baldwin reprising, by the way.
Yeah.
But Ron Howard has nothing to do with this. So, yeah, I don't know why this is... now you've got, like, William Baldwin is now an uncle, and his nephew is working there. And so it's a next generation thing with this guy, Joe Anderson, playing the nephew. Honestly, I don't know why this got made. All these years later, I don't think that anybody was really begging for there to be another Backdraft, except probably Billy Baldwin, who hasn't really worked ever since.
Yeah, had to make a condo payment or something.
Yeah, so anyway, it's, there's arson and blah, 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 blah. And
that the original Backdraft film was such a big film that they put in a thing at Universal Studios, a whole ride experience based on, it was there for 20 years.
I know.
But I promise you, no one who wasn't alive then can remember what that movie was.
Does not need this movie.
No.
But Billy Baldwin does, so good for him. And Donald Sutherland gets to play the crazy arsonist guy again. So,
can I knock off one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Liam Neeson in Cold Pursuit. I only wanted to do it because, look, I just want to speak to Liam for a second. Liam, I love you, homie. But, dude, you're like 75. To be honest, I think not even being hyperbolic. I think he's clocking 70. He's got to be clocking 70.
Sure.
He's maybe not 70, but he's clocking 70.
Yeah.
Liam is still running around these movies with a gun, knocking out 25-year-olds and dragging them across. In this one, he's hunting a Viking, an actual Viking, who also happens to be a drug pen.
He is 66.
He's 66.
He will be 67 in about a week and a half.
So I didn't do you wrong, Liam. And by the way, you're looking fantastic, homie. I'm down with you. Yeah. But this is starting to look a little crazy. That's all I'm saying.
Denzel's not too far behind him.
I know.
Denzel's going to be 65.
I know.
Jeez.
I know they're all in the neighborhood. Anyway, this is fun. It's really mostly silly. This is not serious like the Takens and so he's having a little fun here. And that's what I think I like about it is that even he knows that, this is a little crazy. So if you want me to keep doing these, you're going to have to let me have a little fun, make fun of myself. I don't want to become the butt of a bunch of jokes out there. So I'll poke myself a bit. That's what he does in this. So you might like this one.
The Upside with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston, and for some reason a bunch of other actresses like Nicole Kidman in roles that are completely beneath them.
Remake of the French film.
Remake of the French film Intouchables,
which was wonderful.
Which is wonderful with Omar Sy, who won, by the way, the César Award for Best Actor for Intouchables and beat Jean Dujardin in The Artist in France. So while Jean Dujardin is winning Best Actor here in his own country, he's losing to Omar Sy in
that movie, yeah, which is interesting. I think
the Intouchables is still the most successful French film outside of France. It made something like $300 million outside France, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So,
French language films don't do that, folks.
So you and I saw this together.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of had the same feeling about it, which was Kevin Hart, good on you.
Yeah.
Good performance. Rock solid. Movie doesn't quite hang together.
No. Cranston is actually okay. Nicole Kidman, no reason whatsoever to be in this movie. And it's not her fault.
No.
But it makes no sense why she's in this movie. I like the way Kevin chose to play it. It's set in New York and in America, not so the issues aren't the same. Obviously, he's an American and he's not in danger of being deported.
And see, that's the issue here, and that's what makes it a little different. Is that Omar Sy, who is Senegalese, plays Senegalese immigrant in Intouchables, and the whole experience of a Senegalese immigrant in France is very, very different from saying, okay, he's an ex-con and he just needs a job.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting dynamic, but it's a different dynamic.
It's a different dynamic. It's the issue of his life. The issue of Omar's life in the other movie is, can I even stay in this? Nobody's going to deport Kevin.
No.
to Brooklyn, maybe.
Yeah.
But you can pull yourself together, son, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, and it's funny because Omar is funnier in Intouchables than Kevin is here. Kevin is playing this really straight and really tough.
He's playing it, and it's why the performance is good. He's angry.
Yeah,
and he's playing the anger, and which is interesting because it's that anger that we're talking about this movie. We didn't hate it.
No,
it's a perfectly serviceable movie, folks.
Yeah.
Just doesn't happen to be as good as the French film.
Yeah, but what I do take away from this is that Kevin Hart can do pretty much any damn thing he wants.
Yeah,
he really is.
Frankly, I used to say we used to say about Eddie Murphy 25 years ago. Man, I'd love to see Eddie get serious. Wouldn't you love to see Eddie get serious?
And he turned serious too late.
Yeah,
because he was getting the huge paydays.
Yeah.
But I give Kevin Hart all the credit in the world. This is a great sign. There are a lot of interesting stuff, deleted scenes, gag reel. Behind. I mean, you can see him joshing around and being a really fun guy on the set, and that's what you would expect. But by the way, I watched his new show on Netflix. Son of a bitch, that is the funniest thing. There's a part in there. It's one of those extended jokes that Woody Allen was so expert at, right? It's an extended joke that goes on for, it's got to be like 5 minutes long. I mean, it's one of those constructed jokes, right? But it's so constructed that right at the end, Kevin is losing it. He's cracking himself up. He can't handle it. He's laughing. He's laughing so hard. He's almost in tears. And he's saying to the audience, he says, "No, hold on. This is the best one. This is the best one." Like he's completely setting them up for it. And it's, even though he sets you up for it, when he nails it, it's so funny. It's insanely funny. It's like one of the most genius constructions. But the whole show is really sharp. It's not just joke. He sets stuff up at the beginning that he pays off later on. It's a complete work. It's a complete piece of writing. And
I love it.
It's really sharp. Yeah. I urge anybody to check that out. Kevin Hart's new Netflix show. It's a great performance. So let's see. Trading Paint. For some reason, John Travolta is still making movies. I don't get it. I really don't. I don't know. It's like, somebody. This is what I would do if I were somebody out there. It's like, look, John Travolta keeps making these crappy movies, and so does Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Here's what you want to do.
Every now and again, Nick will have something interesting, but mostly crappy movies.
Get the two of them together again in a movie. Do that. Do the face-off thing.
Yeah.
Do that.
Oh, why hasn't anybody... Dude. Why hasn't anybody... Dude.
Yeah.
Seriously.
What?
We need to do this now.
What?
We copyright that. We copyright the idea of putting John and Nick back together in any kind of a movie. Doesn't even, but we hereby now copyright the notion.
Yeah.
Because that's brilliant.
Yeah, well, it should happen. No, this is just a straight to Blu-ray and DVD combo set. John Travolta just giving a paycheck movie about a father and son racing duo, and they, yes, inevitably they wind up having to race against each other, and so what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what? I mean, yeah, it's got some, it's got some stuff in it that's nicely directed and whatnot, but I don't know. Michael Madsen is maybe the better reason to see this, to be honest. I like Michael Madsen.
Yeah.
He's good in pretty much everything, just because, you know why? Here's the great thing about Michael Madsen. It's because he knows the only thing he can do is this.
And stays in his lane.
And he stays in his lane. And he just does this in every movie. Even Free Willy.
Yeah.
Like, literally, the guy he plays in Free Willy and the character he plays in Reservoir Dogs, it's the same guy.
Same guy.
Just at one point, he's cutting off a guy's ear, and in the other one, he's saving a whale.
Yeah.
He's still Michael Madsen.
I love it.
That's all he does. I love it.
His sister Virginia got all the actual acting skills. You want to keep going?
No, go for it.
Oh, well, Apollo 11. Wonderful, this wonderful doc, just 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I've seldom see a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Is it still?
Yeah, and I think to myself, you know what? That's absolutely right. Anyway, particularly for folks of a certain age, you and I came of age doing the Apollo missions, and most of the Apollo missions actually. I think I was alive for all of the Apollo missions. Apollo 11. This is just an absolutely fascinating doc from Todd Douglas. It's full of all kinds of images you've never seen before. The voices you hear from Mission Control. And I think who have we got left? We got Buzz. Buzz is still around, right? I think Buzz is the only one.
Yeah, I think he is. From that mission.
From that mission, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely fascinating. There were a couple of these that came out this year in association with Gosling's. Apollo.
Yeah.
These are better than the narrative film.
Speaking specifically to First Man, the Damien Chazelle film with Ryan Gosling. Yeah. Which what's amazing about that is he just takes all the footage, all the archival material, and edits it together to tell you a story with very minimal interaction as a filmmaker. There are some graphics and things that sort of show you where the moon is and where the Earth is, and who's.
But there's no big old giant voiceover of whoever.
No.
All the audio you hear. Is audio captured
it's all
in and around and about from the time.
Beautiful.
And he finds the story in there. The story sort of is the obvious story, but nevertheless, it's so gripping and better than First Man. I guess
fantastic.
Yeah.
I got a couple of animated ones here on 4K Ultra HD. And you know what? I'm lukewarm on both, but I know a lot of people love them. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. I am not a big fan of the How to Train Your Dragon movies. I kind of don't get the excitement. The dragon is a little creepy looking to me. I never really vibed to the whole friendship of it. But some people love these movies, and I will say this, the animation here is terrific, and they certainly do take the story into an interesting place. Female dragon, and there's all this other stuff that's happening that's fine. I mean, it's nice, and you have the little romance between Hiccup and Toothless, and it's so cute, and it drives me crazy. But that's okay, fair enough.
Does Hero cotton to him?
Huh?
Does Hero cotton to those?
No,
movies?
Not at all.
Are they too old for her?
She just wants to watch princess movies.
Okay, so she's none of that stuff's going to come to her.
She just wants to watch. She just wants to see Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast, and she doesn't really want to watch anything she hasn't seen already.
Okay,
we're in that stage right now. It's very interesting. I don't want to see any new movies. Okay, fair enough. But anyway, but look, the animation is terrific. I give it all the credit in the world for that. It is terrific, and those who loved the first movie will absolutely love this one. The 4K is stellar and completely off the chart. The Lego Movie, the second part, I'm not that fond of these either. I know the first one really people just went nuts for. Way too referential. It was like Simpsons meets Family Guy meets South Park on steroids times 10.
Yeah.
It's just too much hard-hitting referential bada bing, and it just over and over, and it's too hard and fast. So 5 years later, we get this space invader plot of some kind, and everything and everyone is in this, and the jokes fly fast and furious, and it's still a little too much. But again, people who love the first one will love this one. And the 4K is also very, very, very good. How to Train Your Dragon, of course, is a universal release, and they are doing better and better with their 4K. They're really, really getting it down. The Lego Movie, the second part, is a Warner release, and their 4K has always been top notch and really, really first rate, and it continues to be. So, there are extras on both of these, but the one that's really, really loaded with them is How to Train Your Dragon. That's just got tons and tons of stuff, alternate opening and shorts and deleted scenes and EPK stuff, and that's really loaded with it. The Lego Movie only has some deleted scenes and music video and a couple of featurettes.
Pop over here.
Yeah, go for that.
This was an interesting little film. Not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but it was directed by Vincent D'Onofrio, the actor Vincent D'Onofrio. It's called The Kid. It's a sort of really mostly confabulated story about Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And the last days of Billy the Kid as Pat Garrett sort of chases him down. Pat Garrett, played by Ethan Hawke, Dane DeHaan, and Jake Shore, and a few other folks in the film. Billy the Kid and a few others in the film. This movie is full of these grand soliloquies that these actors tell every few minutes. There's a big shootout, something will happen. You have yourself a group of 3 or 4 actors, and somebody will tell a grand soliloquy. They usually start like this. The first time I killed a man. and then they go on for about 5 minutes. And everybody in the movie has one. Everybody in the movie has one. The women have
high hopes for this.
But Ethan Hawke doing fantastic work in this movie, but no.
Is he not just in the prime of his career right now?
He's just killing it. He's just killing it.
I mean, Ethan Hawke has always been an interesting actor, all the way back to Explorers, right, and Dead Poet Society, and there was always a thing going on, and all the Linklater things. I mean, he's always mixed it up with really interesting work. But as a director and as an actor, he has been doing stuff kind of since boyhood.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the prime of his life.
Oh, that wonderful movie where he played the jazz trumpeter.
He directed Blaze.
Yeah, which was really wonderful.
Wonderful. He played Maudie. Played Maudie's husband opposite the famous Canadian folk artist. Really amazing work.
But you know what? Always been a Renaissance man. Ethan Hawke penned his first novel, which was a pretty good book, people, almost 20 years ago.
Got a little British indie here on Blu-ray. It's called White Chamber, starring Shauna MacDonald and Oded Fair. Oded Fair hasn't shown up in a lot of stuff lately. So I got very mixed feelings about this. I had to review this on Film Week, and here's the thing. It's a very good-looking Blu-ray. They did a beautiful job transferring it over, so good on MPI. This is part of their Dark Skyline. It looks better on Blu-ray than it did on projected. I'll be honest with you. They fixed the things. This is kind of a horror thriller. It's a low-budget horror thriller. It takes place in a Civil War-ravaged United Kingdom, where the presumably the forces that are ripping the country apart under Brexit and everything else has now reached epidemic proportions. So martial law has been declared, and the whole movie basically takes place in this building where they isolate people in this white chamber for interrogation. And it has to do, Oded Fair plays a guy who is basically a general who is, commanding the rebel forces, who's been captured, and and then you have a woman who may or may not have vital information about something, and you get into this kind of a cat and mouse situation of what's happening in the chamber, what do they do to the people in the chamber, which is kind of a torture chamber. It's an interrogation chamber, but there are all these things that you can inject and things you can do with the chamber that will drive people crazy. And it's supposed to be kind of an ethical question about how far will we go on this current trajectory, this socio-political trajectory that's tearing the world apart, this populist thing that's happening in all these corners of the globe. Where does it lead us? It tries to ask these big questions, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Saw.
It's Saw. I was going to say, it sounded a lot like Saw.
It's Saw. That's where I was going.
Saw with some social...
It's still Saw.
That's kind of crazy. Keep going.
Yeah. The Prodigy, not to be confused with the 800 other movies called The Prodigy. This is a new Prodigy that is about a woman who has a son that's starting to get a little bit weird, and she thinks he's possessed or the devil or who knows what. There are a lot of these movies made in the last few years. Scary Kids, was my child kidnapped by a fairy and replaced by a changeling, or possessed by the devil, or what's going on? And this is another one of those. I don't think that it terribly works very well. Once it sort of starts showing its hand, gets a little eye rolling. But that being said, it is stylish, and Nicholas McCarthy, who directed it, is really only just bucking for a bigger job. So he pulls out all the stops for the suspense and the scares and the photography, and so the idea is you look at this and you go, well, he didn't have much to work with. He didn't have much to work with, but he's doing a good job with what he has. So let's give him a bigger budget and a bigger movie. And fair enough, he deserves it. He does some really, really solid work here. So it's the same low-budget people who did the Exorcism of Emily Rose, and this has been released through the upsurge, or the how would I put it, the reborn Orion unit, that is not the same as the old Orion, but it's got the Orion logo on it. So there it is, The Prodigy on DVD and Blu-ray.
Interesting stuff. Happy Death Day. This is just from the guys over at Blumhouse.
Oh yeah, it's the sequel.
The sequel to the Death Day movie.
Happy Death Day to you.
To you.
Yeah.
Happy Death Day to you. So the Happy Death Day movie. Young woman gets killed over and over and over again. Comes back. Eventually is able to solve her own murder. Which was actually fairly clever. Okay, I'm gonna let you have that one. You know what? You cannot have it twice. Now you're just pissing me off, because it's the same thing that they did in the Final Destination films.
Yeah, that's
right.
Look,
it's no fun if you can't win. If you can't figure out how to beat death, if you can't figure out how to beat then that just means you're milking it. And eventually everybody gets killed in the movie. And I do not find that a satisfying trope. No. Some people do. This is unrated and features all kinds of bonus features and a gag reel and deleted scenes. If you like these movies, you're going to like this one too. But no, I say no.
Redcon 1. War has just evolved. There's another tagline that nobody worked on. War has just evolved.
Well, that's not even a sentence.
That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean anything at all. It's crazy. So pretty good film. Chi Kong Chung directed this, who I believe is originally a Korean director, but this is an English language film, and it's sort of like a 28 days later, 28 weeks later type of thing. There's like a virus outbreak, and a bunch of this squad of Green Beret type guys. They have to go into the quarantine zone where everybody's all viraled and zombied out, and rescue the only guy who may have a cure. That's the thing. So does it work? Yeah, it kind of works. It's a little bit like The Prodigy. It's a resume piece. The idea here is that Chi Kong Chung is looking for a bigger job and a little splashier budget, and so he's put together. I mean, it's really, really good for what it is. It just doesn't. You start thinking about all the other movies that have done this and that did it better, and it doesn't hold up terribly well. However, got some kind of EPK stuff here, interviews and behind the scenes things, and that's fine. It's made the rounds at a few genre festivals. So if you like those kinds of films and you've seen all the rest of them, it's okay. It's probably worth checking out. It's called Redcon 1.
Tyler Perry's Madea movies, depending on how you want to start, when you want to start counting, because the fact of the matter is Tyler Perry, the Madea character had been a part of a theatrical character for years.
Yeah.
And he would actually shoot videos of the stage plays, and he put those videos out. So a good number of those movies were based on those stage plays. So you can see Meet the Browns and all that kind of. Madea's Family Reunion, though, was the first release of it as a feature film. That was 2006.
Wow.
And here we are, X number of years later. We've had Madea this, Madea that, Madea everything, and we are finally at Madea's family funeral because this is the last Madea movie. So says Tyler Perry.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll see whether or not that's actually true. But if it is true, I will say this. Was never a particularly big fan of the Madea films. It was something that I appreciated more than something that I actually liked. But the thing that I appreciated about him is that he just put a whole bunch of black and brown folks to work in front of and behind the camera.
Yep.
And I appreciated also that he was willing and he wanted to tell the story of a certain sort of black family as he remembered it. Madea is his grandmother.
Yeah.
And I deeply appreciate that. Anyway, here it is, almost 10 years later, and this is the last one. It's okay. It's kind of funny. Tyler plays 3 or 4 characters in it, the way Eddie used to do back in the day.
Yeah.
Look, Tyler Perry is better at this than he is at anything else.
Look, all I know is this. Tyler Perry is a billionaire.
Yeah. Built that studio in Atlanta.
That's all I need to know.
On Medea's support bra.
That's all I need to know.
So Tyler Perry's a family, all kinds of cool stuff on it, deleted scenes, outtakes, this, that, and the other stuff. So, a fitting send-off.
So we also have Fighting with My Family, the director's cut, which also includes the theatrical version. This is a Blu-ray DVD combo of the director's cut of Fighting with My Family, because I know everybody who saw this thought, I'd really love to see the director's cut of that. Not really. There's no reason to have a director's cut of this movie. This is okay. It's perfectly fine. It's the only reason to see this really is because it's got Vince Vaughn and Dwayne Johnson in it. Everybody else is just kind of going through the motions. Even Nick Frost.
How do you make a movie with Vince Vaughn and Dwayne Johnson in it, and it still doesn't register?
Because they're not really in it much, and
I guess they don't break anything.
I mean, the thing is, it's got a WWE angle on it, right? So it's a very narrow. It tries to be funny. It tries to be warm and fuzzy. It tries to give everybody space to do something in it. It winds up being too many things to too many people to ever be one thing to anyone in particular, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what's wrong with it. It's the wrestling thing just doesn't appeal to most people. No matter how many stars you pack into it, it still has a really niche appeal. And Nick Frost you would think would be great, and he's even kind of mediocre in it. But nonetheless, it's I guess it is what it is. Fighting with My Family, really just for WWE people who love wrestling. That's all it really is. Written and directed by Stephen Merchant, and Dwayne Johnson produced it purely because he has he owes wrestling a lot.
A connection, yeah. So it has to help bring up and good on you, Dwayne, for that.
Yeah.
Valentine Dark Avenger. This is more interesting than you would think. It's sort of an Indonesian American sort of mashup of a thing.
Cool.
Set in this place called Batavia City, which is more or less sort of like Gotham. More Gotham than where's Superman City again? Metropolis. So it's more Gotham than Metropolis. This character even looks more Batman than or Batgirl. Birds of Prey, if anything else.
Yeah.
This is the hook. She's this young waitress, just a waitress, wants to be an actress. Stumbles into this part in this film, playing this character. The character eventually becomes real. So now she's a waitress who's an actress who's playing this character, and the character goes out in the middle of the night and does the things that the character actually does, low lives and bad guys.
You lost me at waitress.
Yeah, one young waitress. Anyway, it's more fun than you would think.
She looks a little bit like Batwoman,
yes.
by the way.
Yes.
And speaking of Batwoman and that new Batwoman show,
Birds of Prey.
Did you hear what they just announced at the upfronts in New York?
No.
CW announced that it will be Batwoman's first season, and it will be the last season of Arrow.
Oh.
So they are going to do an epic 5-episode, 5-series arc spanning from December into January, covering the Legends of Tomorrow and Flash and Supergirl and Arrow and Batwoman, and they're going to do a whole Crisis on Infinite Earths thing right out of the comic books.
Okay.
It's basically Avengers, Infinity War, and
Infinity Wars up to Endgames
for DC's television multiverse,
which is a more successful multiverse than their film.
They should get Greg Berlanti and all those people who are doing all those Arrowverse shows to take over every. By the way, what do you think about Matt presumably casting what's his face, the Twilight Robert Pattinson?
I heard him, but I also heard Nicholas Hoult.
I don't like either of them.
They're both wrong. I mean, first of all, what story are you telling with either one of these guys?
Well, one that you hope that they'll be able to be in for 10 movies.
But why? Because for one thing, neither one of those guys are all that young. So I think Pattinson is
33.
Yeah, so he's about the same age now as Keaton was when Keaton played Batman in '88.
I looked it up. Keaton was, I think, 37.
Really?
Yes, but Christian Bale was 31.
Really?
Yes.
See, I would have thought Bale was like 35.
I know.
Bale was only 31 when
He
he
was
started.
only 31 when he started.
He was just sort of buffed up or something like
Yeah.
that.
But
And who knows? Clooney was probably 40.
Oh yeah, he was easy in his 40s.
You know,
yeah.
he didn't take it seriously anyway.
And Adam West was almost 40.
Yeah, and Val Kilmer probably was clocking 40.
Yeah.
So interesting.
All right, we'll wrap this out with a couple of criterions. Both of them really good, but really acquired taste. House of Games, David Mamet's rather still remarkable movie from 1987 is now on Criterion on Blu-ray and has a whole lot of great extras on here. Interviews with Lindsay Krause and Joe Mantegna from about 12, 13 years ago. David Mamet doing a short documentary all about the preparation production of the film. I mean, really, really interesting stuff. House of Games is still, it has that dialogue of his.
Oh, yeah, that stilted staccato.
And people say things that they would never say in real life, but you live in Mamet's world here.
Yeah.
So, for sure, it is still really, and it's the best thing Lindsay Krause has ever done. They were married at the time.
Yeah.
And for good reason. That's why she gave such a great performance in this. It is so many twists and turns in this thing. It's just a smart script. The other one is Michael Haneke's Funny Games, the original 1997 German Funny Games, not the English remake with
more disturbing.
Way more disturbing. This is I recommend every Criterion almost without reservation except this one. Funny Games, Haneke, this is it when he is in his full sadism mode.
Yeah.
And he's even said so. The whole point of this movie is to basically torture the audience like the characters are being tortured in the movie.
Yeah.
This is a brutal movie.
Yeah.
This is just a brutal movie. It is not fun to watch. But that's, in many respects, kind of what makes it worth watching if you're one of those kinds of viewers.
I don't know whether it's him or Lars. Yeah, Von Trier. Both of them can get. I like.
But Von Trier went off the rails.
Yeah, completely.
Haneke put it together and made Amour.
Yeah,
and he made
the White
Ribbon.
Yeah,
you know, he made some lovely movies since, but this is just.
They're still disturbing.
Still true.
Yeah,
it's true. So anyway, but Funny Games now on Blu-ray. Only has a handful of extras on it, including some new interviews. One of them with Alexander Horwath, his film historian, who kind of tries to right the ship a little and give you some perspective and tell you why you shouldn't hate the film. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right, that's it, and we'll be back next week.